So in this video, I wanted to share with you guys a couple of Sony batteries that I'm using. Now, a lot of people out there don't really buy the OEM Sony batteries. They end up buying some cheaper ones, and then, so they can start at around $50. If you want something decent, even Anton Bauer makes Sony batteries. They run about $80. But the OEM Sony batteries in this size here is going to run you about $120. Now these right here run about 90 bucks. Now, so it's kind of in the middle, but this is from a company called SWIT. Now SWIT is a professional broadcast company I'm very familiar with. So they make really good high-end products. They make, high-end V-mount batteries. So they're, a reliable company. They're just not, some rebranded product. Now, the reason I'm going with these SWIT Sony batteries, number one, is, it is a name brand, and I trust these batteries are not the cheap stuff that, is going to fail after a couple of months. And then theirs, unlike any of the other Sony batteries, has an actual meter on here. So you press this little button, and then you can check the capacity of the battery. On the other Sony BPU series batteries, they had that option, but on the NPF series batteries, they didn't have it. So it's nice to have because you could just pull it out of a bag, look at the capacity, and know exactly what kind of battery you're running with. You don't have to throw it onto a camera or throw it onto some sort of device and try to figure out what the capacity is. Now, if it was on a camera, we'd be fine. But if you're using, something like an LED light here, you really don't have meters that show you how much life you have on your battery. Now, again, another reason why these are so cool is they actually give you an output, a DC output. So you flip this little rubber door here, and they give you a DC output, which means that you can actually power a device by plugging this into something, and you can actually power a device through the DC input simultaneously. So you get double duty out of these batteries. And a lot of devices run on 7 volts. Canon batteries are 7 volts as well. So you can take this output and connect it to different devices and, just power it up. And that's what makes these really handy. So just to kind of show you an example, I'm going to take this Sony battery and I'm going to plug it into the back of this light. All right. So you see the light works. Now we take one of these little DC cables. Now it doesn't come with a cable, but this is very standard. I mean, almost all these devices run on the same type of connector. This is typically your 5.5, 2.5 barrel tip, and almost all video accessories work with something like this. So I'm going to plug this in here, and just as an example, I'm going to take this monitor. Now there's a lot of monitors out there that start at 7 volts. And you can see I'm powering that while simultaneously powering this light, which means you don't have to have a lot of batteries on your rig. If you have a rig and you have a bunch of accessories on your rig, you could power at least 2 devices off this battery. So another thing you could do is, let's say you had a light and you had your Sony camera. Now, this is a RX10 Mark II, but the battery that goes in this is the same for the series, A7 series cameras, A7S, A7S2, A7R2. So I'm just using this as an example, but you can imagine the other Sony cameras that you could do this with. So I have a dummy battery in here. You've got this standard input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in. You'll notice the camera will power on, and then we've got the light. So I can actually power both my devices off one battery. So if this was my rig right here, I'd be running around with one battery and I'd last way longer than those stock Sony batteries because those things really suck. Anyways, that's just kind of an example, of the things you could do. There's a lot of devices that run off 7 volts, so that DC out comes in very handy. Plus, you get a really nice large capacity Sony NPF style battery with the meter, and the meter's really what I wanted it for, but the DC out, I could see myself using it quite a bit too. So anyways, this is from SWIT. It runs about 90 bucks. Again, a little bit more expensive than some of the batteries you can get out there, which are still kind of a little iffy. It's kind of hit or miss. This is a brand I know I could trust, and if I have any problems, I could contact, B&H, because that's where I'm getting it from. So anyways, I'm gonna have a link below this video if you guys are interested in this battery, but this is what I'm going with now. Very cool stuff here. So check it out. There's a link below this video or on the blog cheesycam.com.